Hello and welcome to this video about what is God's will and what is not God's will. In this video, we will explore the meaning of God's will and provide vivid examples from the Bible to help you better understand. First, let's define what we mean by God's will. God's will refers to His plan and purpose for our lives. It is the path that God has laid out for us to follow, the things that God desires for us to do, and the decisions that align with His divine plan. Now, let's talk about what is not God's will. The Bible tells us that there are things that are not in alignment with God's will, such as sin, rebellion, and disobedience. These things are not pleasing to God and they go against His character and His plan for our lives. Let's take a look at some Bible verses that illustrate this point. In 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 3, it says, "For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality." This verse tells us that God's will for us is to live a pure and holy life, free from sexual immorality. Another example can be found in Ephesians 5 verse 17, which says, "Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is." This verse reminds us that it is our responsibility to seek and understand God's will for our lives, and to avoid making foolish decisions that go against His plan. Now let's move on to examples of what is God's will. In Romans 12 verse 2, it says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect." This verse encourages us to transform our minds and renew our thinking so that we can better understand God's will for our lives. Another example can be found in 1 Peter 2 verse 15, which says, "For this is the will of God, that, by doing good, you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people." This verse tells us that God's will is for us to do good, and by doing so, we can be a witness to others and silence the foolishness of those who oppose God. In addition to these examples, the Bible also teaches us that God's will is for us to love Him with all our heart, soul, and mind, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. This is found in Matthew 22 verses 37 to 40. In conclusion, we have discussed what is God's will and what is not God's will, and provided vivid examples from the Bible to illustrate these points. As you seek to follow God's plan for your life, remember to seek His guidance, renew your mind, and do good to others, all while avoiding sin and rebellion. Thank you for watching, and we hope this video has been helpful for you.